The Chicago Bears hit their bye week, and man, it couldn't have come any sooner. We're talking about the earliest possible bye in the NFL calendar, and while that could be seen as a disadvantage, there's a different way to look at it, especially if you're trying to fix a team that still has plenty of room for improvement. As offensive coordinator Ben Johnson said back in training camp, an early bye could be a blessing in disguise. You get 4 games of film to evaluate, a good chunk of live reps, and now you've got time to sit back, breathe, and figure out what needs to change before heading into the meat of the season. So, if I'm Ben Johnson and the Bears coaching staff, this week off is all about reflection, correction, and experimentation. And we might already be seeing the first major shift. According to multiple reports, the Bears are likely making a move at left tackle, with Braxton Jones expected to head to the bench and Theo Benedict stepping into the starting role. Now look, nothing has been officially confirmed. Teams don't have to speak to the media during the bye, and the Bears have pretty much gone radio silent this week. But based on how things are shaping up, it sounds like we're heading for a change on the blind side. And I've got to be honest, I'm not exactly shocked. Braxton Jones, for all the praise he earned as a late-round gem, just hasn't looked like the same guy this year. And even when he was at his best, he was solid, not spectacular. He was a quality starter for a 5th-round pick, one of Ryan Pohl's better finds in that draft class, but he was never going to be a cornerstone at left tackle. You can do better, and it looks like the Bears think Theo Benedict might give them at least a comparable level of play, with maybe a higher ceiling down the line. And this move says a lot more about the long-term picture than the short-term panic. Braxton Jones is set to hit free agency after this season, and if the team doesn't see him as part of the future, then what's the point in continuing to trot him out there? Even if Theo Benedict isn't a huge upgrade right now, he's younger, he's under contract beyond this year, and the staff seems to like his run blocking better, something this offense desperately needs. The Bears haven't exactly lit the world on fire in the run game, and any edge they can find in that department is worth exploring. And let's be clear, this isn't about throwing shade at Braxton. It's about seeing what you've got in a guy like Benedict, while also sending a message that performance matters. If you're not cutting it, someone else will get a shot. That's how it works in this league. So while I wouldn't say I'm overly excited or pessimistic about the move, I get it. Makes sense. If the performance level stays the same, or even improves slightly, it's a win. Now switching gears to the running back situation, because let's be honest, the run game has been straight up disappointing so far. Ben Johnson spoke earlier this week and made it clear that he doesn't blame DeAndre Swift for the struggles. He emphasized Swift's effort and pride, saying he's been running hard despite the numbers not being where anyone wants them to be. And yeah, it's true. Swift has been getting hit early on a lot of plays. You've got those runs where Caleb Williams hands it off, and before Swift can even make a cut, he's getting wrapped up. That's on the offensive line, no question. But that's not the whole story. Advanced stats like rushing yards over expected show that Swift is actually leaving yards on the field. And if we're being real, he's just not the kind of back who's going to turn a nothing play into something big. He's not breaking tackles like prime Marshawn Lynch. He's not bouncing off defenders and turning 4-yard runs into 20-yard bursts. There have been lanes, there have been creases, and he hasn't been maximizing those chances. And look, that doesn't mean Swift is a bad back. He's just not the game changer the Bears hoped he might be. Which brings us to Kyle Manengai. It's time to see more of this kid. His sample size is still small, only 17 carries so far, but you've seen flashes. He's averaging about 3.6 yards per carry, and that includes a disastrous play against Detroit, where he lost 8 yards trying to do too much. You take that one play out, and suddenly he's over 4 yards per carry. That matters. He's shown better contact balance, a little more toughness in short yardage situations, and he just falls forward. Those are the little things that add up over the course of a game. So why not give him a real chance? Out of the bye, let him get 8 to 10 carries against Washington. See what he does with it. Worst case, you're still stuck with a struggling run game. Best case, you find a spark that's been missing all year. It's not about abandoning Swift entirely. There's still value in a committee approach. But there's no downside to rotating in another guy who might give you something different, especially in a position like running back, where fresh legs and momentum can shift a game quickly. And let's face it, this team needs any kind of offensive spark it can get. If Menengai give you a couple of chunk plays or turns a broken run into positive yardage, that's a win. And if he doesn't, well, at least you know. Either way, the staff owes it to the offense to test out every option during this reset. And speaking of sparks, how about getting DJ more involved? Look, Romo Duns has been phenomenal, no doubt about it. He's clearly emerged as the top option in this passing attack. But here's the thing. According to some recent ESPN analytics, Moore and Rome are actually leading the league in terms of getting open. That's right. Both guys are among the best at creating separation, and that tells you something. Moore might not be lighting up the stat sheet, but he's still doing his job. The opportunities just haven't consistently been there. And yeah, Caleb has been feeding Rome, and that's worked. But it doesn't mean Moore should be an afterthought. He's still a high-end talent, a guy who can break a game open with a couple of big plays. Now, some people have started to wonder whether Moore might be expendable after the season, especially with his salary and the emergence of young receivers. And maybe there's something to that discussion. But for now, while he's still on this roster, there's no reason not to make him a bigger part of the game plan. Dial up a couple of looks for him early in the next game. Get him into a rhythm. Give him a chance to remind people why he was brought in here in the first place. He doesn't need 10 targets a game, but 5 or 6 high-quality looks could go a long way. And let's not act like he's washed. This is still a guy who can turn a slant into a house call if he gets the right block. Use that. Feed that. Build off that. Because if the Bears are going to make any sort of run post-bye, they're going to need more from their playmakers, not less. On the defensive side of the ball, there's another opportunity to shift gears. With some key guys returning from injury, like Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards, the Bears should seriously consider ramping up the blitz. Dennis Allen's approach so far has been cautious, and for good reason. With all the injuries in the secondary, you can't afford to leave guys on islands too often. But now that you're getting healthier, now that you've got some of your key tacklers and cover guys back in a mix, it's time to get a little more aggressive. Gordon is one of the few corners in this league who actually embraces contact. He'll fly downhill and make a tackle in space. That helps, especially against the run. And Edwards might not be as flashy as Tremaine Edmonds, but he's instinctive. He reads plays quickly, and he can help fill gaps that have been getting exploited too often. This defense has quietly held its own through the first month, despite all the chaos. The pass coverage has actually been decent, but you're still not getting enough pressure, and that has to change. You don't need to go blitz crazy, but getting the blitz rate up over 20% would be a start. Confuse quarterbacks, force quicker throws, and maybe start generating some turnovers. The personnel is there now. Use it. One area where the Bears absolutely have to get more out of their defense is the pass rush. And look, the numbers don't lie. This team has just 5 sacks through the first few games, and not a single player has more than one. That's 5 sacks by 5 different players. We're talking about names like Montez Sweat, Jervin Dexter, Adetomo Adebawor, Robinson, and Tershawn Wharton. When your edge rushers aren't producing and your interior pressure is inconsistent, it puts a huge strain on the entire defense. Quarterbacks are getting too comfortable in the pocket, and the results have shown up on the scoreboard and the stat sheet. So if you're the coaching staff, you're looking around the roster and asking, who else can help? Who's not getting a chance yet, but maybe should? This brings us to Austin Booker. Now, there's no guarantee he's fully ready to return from short-term injured reserve. But if he is, there is absolutely no reason to wait. You got to get him on the field and give him a shot to contribute. This is a guy who flashed all preseason long. His motor was relentless. He showed bend off the edge, and he didn't look out of place against starting caliber offensive linemen. That doesn't guarantee success in the regular season. Obviously, preseason is a different animal, but it's something. It's hope. It's potential. And when the guys ahead of him aren't getting it done, there's just no excuse not to find out what you've got in him. Even if you start with a limited role, give Booker 20 or 25 snaps in obvious passing downs. That could already be enough to make a difference. This defensive front just needs someone who can win a one-on-one matchup. It's not like opposing offenses are putting all their focus on Montez Sweat or Adebawor. According to recent PFF stats, those guys rank outside the top 50 among edge rushers in terms of double team rates. They're not getting schemed out of the play. They're just not winning. That's a problem. And the longer it goes on, the more it becomes clear that help has to come from within. Booker might not explode onto the scene and rack up sacks immediately. Maybe he needs time. Maybe he's just not ready. But how are you going to find out unless you give him a chance? Defensive line play in the NFL is as much about energy and urgency as it is about experience. And sometimes, throwing a young guy into the mix is the exact spark that a group needs. You don't want to waste a whole season waiting to make changes when the early signs are telling you that what you're doing isn't working. Booker showed enough in camp and in preseason action to at least warrant an opportunity. He's earned a shot, even if it's just in a rotational capacity. At this point, any disruption, any pressure, any chance to make a quarterback uncomfortable is worth exploring. And it goes beyond just giving Booker a role. It's about changing the approach on that side of the ball. Up to now, this defense has been playing with a conservative edge. The idea has been bend, but don't break. And while that's understandable, especially with injuries in the secondary, it's also not sustainable long-term. You can't consistently ask your corners and safeties to hold up in coverage for 4, 5, even 6 seconds on passing downs. Eventually, guys are going to get open, and big plays are going to happen. The only way to truly shift that dynamic is by getting home faster. That means blitzing more, disguising coverages, and dialing up some chaos. You now have a few more healthy pieces. Use them. Create mismatches. Force mistakes. Because if you don't start generating pressure, even average quarterbacks are going to pick you apart. The bye week is the perfect time to start implementing these changes. Not only do you have time to install new wrinkles in the playbook, but your players are getting healthy. Kyler Gordon coming back gives you more flexibility in the secondary. He's a willing tackler, he can blitz out of the slot, and he understands spacing well enough to help you mix in more aggressive looks without blowing assignments on the back end. TJ Edwards adds IQ and gap discipline to your linebacker unit. Those aren't flashy traits, but they matter, especially in run defense and in diagnosing play action. And when your defensive interior hasn't been consistently winning their battles, you need your linebackers to clean things up behind them. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be the NFL's most tantalizing offseason whisper, the Chicago Bears appear to have made a bold statement about the future of their backfield. Sources close to the team are quietly buzzing about the possibility that SAQUON Barkley, the explosive running back known for his combination of speed, vision, and sheer athleticism, is set to become the centerpiece of the Bears' offensive ambitions. While the organization has yet to make an official announcement, insiders suggest that negotiations have progressed to a stage that makes Barkley's presence in Chicago feel all but inevitable. The mere thought of Barkley lining up behind a revamped offensive line has sparked excitement among fans and analysts alike. Chicago has struggled for consistency in the backfield for years, often relying on committee approaches that never seem to stick. Barkley, however, is a game-changer, a player whose dynamic playmaking ability could finally give the Bears a ground attack that demands attention from opposing defenses. Imagine him slicing through gaps, breaking tackles, and turning routine carries into explosive gains, a vision that has Bears supporters practically holding their collective breath. Speculation suggests that this potential acquisition could be more than just about raw talent. The Bears are reportedly looking at Barkley as the player around whom they can build a new identity, someone capable of invigorating the team's offensive strategy while providing leadership in the locker room. Rumors indicate that there's mutual interest. Barkley, coming off a season where he reminded everyone of his elite capabilities, might be looking for a team that believes in him as the unquestioned feature back. Of course, in the world of NFL whispers, nothing is ever guaranteed. Contract details, medical evaluations, and cap considerations could all play a role in the final outcome. Yet the excitement is palpable. Pundits are already theorizing how Barkley's arrival could reshape the Bears season, with potential playoff implications that few could have imagined a year ago. Whether it's a matter of weeks or months, the chatter is impossible to ignore. The Bears may have just found their long-awaited backfield leader in SAQUON Barkley, and Chicago fans are dreaming of the kind of highlight reel runs that make hearts race and headlines unavoidable. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.